Thank you, everyone. Hi. I hope you enjoyed the day so far. This is the last talk of the conference. I'm going to talk about Vue CLI. So let's go ahead. Vue CLI was mainly to create applications, and previously we used the good old Vue init command to create Vue applications. It was great, but it had a few problems. Like there was a lot of different templates to choose from, and also a lot of third-party templates on the internet. So it was a bit complicated, especially for the newcomers. It was only a scaffolding tool, which means Vue init was just creating an app and all the files necessary, and that was it. It didn't do anything more until like maybe the last year, and when it got like a few instant prototyping capabilities, but mostly it was only for creating a new project. And the big problem associated with that is it was ejecting you as soon as you used Vue init, which means you were basically alone. Your project was created, which was great, but all the build configuration was also in your project, and basically Vue CLI was not responsible for anything anymore. So you were on your own, and if you wanted to add new things like TypeScript or a test runner, you had to like research the internet and learn how to modify the configuration in your project. And this also makes upgrading very difficult, because you need to do everything yourself. So for example, if we make some changes on the official templates for Webpack, for example, and we like improve the building process or something, you need to manually apply those changes back into your project. And that was also a big issue with forks. For example, the TypeScript team made a fork of our Webpack official template to support TypeScript, and they had to painfully upgrade from our official repository to theirs, and it was like very painful and required a lot of effort. So that's why we started to like build something else, which is Vue CLI 3.0, which is the new official Vue CLI tool. And you can try it right now. First, you need to remove the old Vue-CLI package from your computer, because we renamed the package to @Vue/CLI, which is a scoped package. But just don't forget to remove the old one, otherwise you may run into issues. So with the last command, you can like install the new CLI and get started right now. How is it different? It's a complete rewrite. So Evan Yu started working on Vue CLI 3 at the end of last year, and it took us like more than 6 months until we finally released it in stable this year. And it's like a complete rewrite, which means like we share zero code with the previous versions, and it's completely different. It's way more powerful, and it has an entirely new architecture based on plugins instead of templates. And also it has a new API, so you can add more features to Vue CLI on the projects that rely on it. So I don't remember what this slide is about. So the objective, I think the objective is to make Vue CLI free, the standard build tool for every single Vue project on the planet, and that means we have to like be more flexible and more powerful. So that's why we packed a lot of features into this new Vue CLI. The first and most important command is Vue create, which is the replacement for Vue init. So this command will allow you to create a new Vue CLI project. And I mentioned Vue CLI project instead of Vue project because we will not eject you anymore. So Vue CLI will take a huge part of your development process on the life of the application. So that's why this will create a new Vue CLI project. It comes with a fully zero config Webpack 4, which is like already configured for you, and you can still like customize it if you have specific needs. It also comes with Bubble 7, post-CSS support, different style preprocessors support. Also, if you need to, you can have like multiple like pages, multiple. There's a lot of other features like web component compilation, target, like modern mode, which is very nice because it's building two different versions of your app, one with all the bubble polyfills and transforms for old browser support, and modern build with less of that, and which will be faster and lighter on modern browsers. So there's also if you need to it says everything is included, of course. So this is the main difference between the new version and the old one. So the old one was based on templates. Basically, you select a template and you answer a few questions, and then it generates a new project. The new system is plugin based, which means there is no template anymore. So you don't select, for example, Webpack with TypeScript on just on I don't know template anymore. You select plugins, so you can pick what you want, like very precisely. So, for example, you can select if you want Vue router support, Vuex, TypeScript, PWA, different linting tools. And even if you need tests, we got you covered with different solutions like Jest, Mocha, Cypress, and Nightwatch. And all of those are also built in, so you don't need to do anything except selecting those when you create a project. The best thing is those plugins can be added after you created the project. So if, for example, you didn't select Jest for unit tests when you created the project, and after a few weeks you want to finally write tests in your app, you can basically add Jest after creating the app. So that's the new possibilities of this plugin-based system. And also, if Jest make a breaking change in the configuration, for example, we can handle that for you. So you just need to upgrade the Jest plugin in your Vue project, and you're basically done upgrading Jest. But another huge difference is that Vue Create is not like the end of the story, and we are not ejecting you as soon as you create a project. So there's the feature that allows you to add plugins after creating a project. And also there's a very important part, which is the Vue CLI runtime, which is inside the package called Vue CLI service. This package is installed in any Vue CLI app, and is responsible for the runtime part of Vue CLI, which means the part that runs every time you want to do something with your app. For example, run Webpack in dev mode or run any other commands. So this service will go into your project and find every other Vue CLI plugin installed in the project and add new capabilities offered by those plugins. So for example, if you install the TypeScript plugin into your app, you get TypeScript support out of the box without changing anything and without having any configuration file in your project, thanks to Vue CLI service detecting the TypeScript plugin and the TypeScript plugin tapping into the runtime configuration of Webpack and adding, for example, the necessary TypeScript loaders for you. And you can then create a project with Vue CLI, but also develop the project, build the project, deploy the project on anything really with Vue CLI. So Vue CLI is really here for you for the whole life cycle of the app and help you along the way. So not just the scaffolding part anymore. And if you need something else which isn't mentioned before, which were all the officials plugins, you can count on the community, which is wonderful, and download community plugins easily. And I'm updating this slide every time I give this kind of talk because the number is always increasing, which is very nice. So we have exactly 275 plugins right now on NPM. So this is awesome, and you can also create your own because we have, as I said in the beginning, at the beginning, we have a very powerful API, so you can create your own as well. So that was a huge, big introduction to Vue CLI 3, or refresh if you already knew something about it. But the main meat of the talk is something else, something I've been working on for a few months this year, which is the Vue CLI UI, which kind of sounds strange, but we go into why in a moment. So Vue CLI UI is a new command you can run with this Vue UI command in your terminal, and it will basically spawn a Node.js server on your computer, which also happen to use Graphical, and then open a web page in your default browser with a web app, which is the graphical user interface for Vue CLI. And then the both communicates automatically. So the nice thing is there is no need for electron, so you don't need to download hundreds of megabytes of data to use this. And also, it also means we can integrate Vue UI into other things like Electron or inside IDE, for example. Wait, why there is a graphical user interface for Vue CLI? Because CLI stands for command line interface. So I'm confused. Yeah, good question. It all came. The thing is, Vue CLI 3 is like a new shiny tool with a lot of features and a lot of options and a powerful API, which is awesome. But in the same time, it also means that the tool is more complex and there's more everything. So newcomers may feel a little bit overwhelmed with all those new features and options, and it may not be as straightforward as we want. And since we are the progressive framework, we always try to be the most as accessible as most. We want really the framework to be accessible for anyone, and the newcomers, the new users of Vue CLI, shouldn't feel overwhelmed by all the options. that's the main reason the graphical user interface exists. And it all started with someone saying, let's interfaces everything, which isn't a real world, but it conveyed the idea very well, I find. So this was from Compulse, which is the creator of Code Sandbox. So if you don't know what it is, it's an online idea, which is very nice. And it was, I think, one of the first ideas to like convert some configuration files like Preacher or Bubble into visual configuration screens. And that was what gave me the idea of creating this graphical user interface. So thanks to Compose. Basically you can, with this UI, create new projects. And when you create a new project, you get more context of what's going on. So you get a full form, and you know you are creating a project, and there's like a few steps, like details, presets, and features and configuration, and you know like this is the general details of the project. So it proves like context of what the user is doing. It also allows us to provide more explanations directly into the user experience of Vue CLI. So, for example, here's an explanation box which like tells you that you can what are the presets really. So you don't need to go to the internet and search for Vue CLI preset. What is this? You have the answer right into the Vue CLI UI. And it also greatly improved discoverability. So earlier you saw a form with different fields, and you had a few options like overriding the destination folder or not creating a Git repository. And those are like directly visible to you. You don't need to either go to the documentation or run the help command to like list all the options. Everything is like directly visible, and also we can create a search user interface. Like a search field to install Vue CLI plugins, which is very nice and very difficult to do in the terminal. And we can improve the inputs and the forms. So the best example I think is this color picker, which would be incredibly difficult, I think, to do in the terminal, but it's very easy to do in a like graphical user interface. And it's way easier to like change the color, for example, with a picker like this, instead of like trying to find the right hexadecimal value. So, and also we can very easily localize everything. So here's the Japanese version of Vue CLI UI. So everyone can contribute and translate the user interface. So all of this makes Vue CLI 3 very accessible and very easy to use for newcomers and for everyone else. So demo time. Please don't use the Wi-Fi. So here's my terminal, and I just need to type Vue UI to get the UI. So here's the first screen you will see is the Vue Project Manager. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. And here you have you can like manage very easily all your Vue or JavaScript projects, because this is not limited to a Vue project. For example, Vue Tooltip is only JavaScript. There is no Vue app, and you can like import existing project or create a new project. So let's do that. Here's a nice thing, for example, we can basically do with a graphical user interface is if I type the name of a folder that already exists, we can like basically tell the user in real time, which improves the user experience. So let's create this new project and go to the preset. So preset is the selection of features. So you can save all the selections into presets, so you can very quickly create new projects the next time. So let's select manual, and here we can select different built-in features like TypeScript or PWA support. So let's go ahead and select preprocessors. And then if some features require you to configure some options, you get access to this final screen. And for example, here you can select if you want SAS or less or stylus. And here you can select which ESLint configuration you want. And here we go, we can go ahead and create a project. So here you can save the selection into a preset. I skip this. And here we go, it's creating a project. So you don't need to type anything into a terminal to create a project. Let's hope it won't be too long. So what it's basically doing right now is scaffolding a very, very bare-bone skeleton of your app, and then installing all the necessary plugins I selected. For example, since I selected Bubble, it's installing the Vue CLI Bubble plugin into the app, and then it will call the generators of those plugins to generate files. So each plugin can modify your project to add necessary files like configuration files or like source code files. So basically it's very flexible, and that's why you can select the features you really want and mix and match depending on your needs. And this system is also the same when you add a plugin after you created the project. It will install the plugin and then run the generator on the plugin. And if the plugin is adding new dependencies, it will also automatically install those additional dependencies. So here you go, he created a brand new project. We are on the home page of the project. Let me unzoom a little bit. So this is the dashboard, which is one of the newest feature of Vue CLI UI. This is basically a grid where you can put widgets which can be provided by plugins. So when you first create the project, you get a little introduction. And you can click on Customize, and you have access to all the built-in plugins, widgets, on the widgets provided by third-party plugins. So, for example, you can have a newsfeed. You can move it like this. You can resize it as well, if you want. And then by default it will load the official podcast so you can listen to it. I don't think we have some, so. And then you can configure widgets and change the target. So for example, you can say you can type either RSS feed or atom feed or the name of a repository on GitHub, and you get the release notes. So for example, if I type next on next.js, I get the release notes of that, and I can click on release notes and get more details, like this one. So then every plugin for Vue CLI can provide their own widgets and enhance the dashboard experience. And there is no a lot of them because it's a brand new feature from this week, so I can't show you those, but you get the idea, I think. The next page is the page listing all the plugins installed in the project. So here we got a few plugins. So the Vue CLI service I talked about earlier, and the Bubble and the ESLint one. And the nice thing is we can have a search interface for those. So this is powered by Algolia. So it's a very nice user interface. I can type GraphQL and it will instantly search for the GraphQL on all the Vue CLI plugins. And as you can see, we got already a lot of them, like 14 pages, which is very nice, and it's always increasing. So let's go ahead and add a new plugin. So let's say we want to add a PWA support into our app. So this plugin doesn't have configuration, but let's say you install, for example, GraphQL plugin. It will have some options, so you can here select different options. And I go ahead and finish the installation. So now it's using the plugin generator to modify the files in your project. So here we got a GitHub-like diff interface, where you can see everything that changed because we added a new plugin. So since we added the PWA plugin, it installed a few new packages, like the plugin itself and the register service worker package here. And we can see it added a few mobile icons, and also it added a manifest file, which is very important for PWA, and it even modified the main file in your project to add the service worker. So you can review those, you can edit the files if you want to make some changes, and then you can commit them using Git. So let's say added PWA, and I commit, and I'm done. So the new plugin is here, so it's cool. We will go back to PWA a little bit later. You also have access to everything else which is not a Vue CLI plugin, so you can manage the rest of your dependencies and upgrade or uninstall them or add new ones. Like let's say you want to install moments into your project, you can very easily install new dependencies like this. This is a very interesting page with the project configuration. This page is populated by plugins, so including the official built-in plugins, with a public API that allows you to create configuration screen. So by default, you get this Vue CLI configuration screen with a lot of different options. And as you can see, there's always the possibilities to add explanations to each option, and even documentation links directly into the Vue CLI UI. All of this is available to you without going to documentation site and finding out about all of those settings. Let's go ahead and open the project, so you can directly open it from here, because why not? So here is our new Vue CLI project. As you can see, there is no Webpack configuration anywhere because everything Webpack related is on the Vue CLI runtime inside Vue CLI service. And let's say we want to change the configuration a little bit, and let's say we need to have templates options in our app. So I will select enable runtime compiler. Actually, I can show you the Japanese translation of this. If I go to my browser and I change the browser language to Japanese, here it is. I think. Let's refresh. Oh, yeah. Everything is Japanese now. I'm lost. So I think this is the one I wanted to enable. Is it runtime compiler? Yeah. So I can enable runtime compiler to allow you to have templates option in your app, and I just click save. And if I go back to my project, there is a new file here, which is vueconfig.js, which has the option I just enabled in the screen, the configuration screen. So you don't even need to know the name of the configuration file, the name of the configuration option. Everything is very easy to do. And since I added PWA support, I can like change the the color of the manifest and add a name to it. And the nice thing about this screen is it will both update the Vue configuration file and also your manifest file. So I changed the color here and I changed the name here. So you don't need to remember to modify both files. Everything will be done for you automatically. And the last screen is the task screen, which is equivalent to the npm scripts into your in your package.json file. So you can see here a few Webpack related tasks. And the nice thing is there is an API to load custom components into the UI. So what you see here is the Webpack dashboard, which is a custom component, built-in custom component, and you can see all kind of stats with this. So let's change. Well, you can also change parameters here. So let's build the app because it's a bit more interesting because we have access to the modern mode here. You can save this, and I can run the build, and you get a little animation. And you got two different progress bars because you got the legacy build and the modern build. And then you have a few stats like the estimated loading times, the size of the assets, the size of the dependencies, and you even have access to a Webpack analyzer. So you can see, for example, in your vendors what's going to take a lot of space. So for the legacy build, you see we had a lot of polyphase to support IE. I think that's it for the demo. Oh, there's a dark mode. So, as I said, there's a Vue, there's a plugin API for plugins, but also a UI-specific API, so you can do all of this stuff in your own plugins. So here's a very complicated schema you can find on the documentation, but basically it explains how everything works. But you can, well, you'll be able to go back to those code examples later. But I showed you all of this already. And that's it for what's the Vue CLI UI right now. So what's coming up next is in the we are going to integrate a new upgrade process for Vue CLI plugins. We're very conservative about this, so we are going to think about it a lot, because upgrading applications which has custom codes is quite complex. We can't really guess what the user did for months before we want to upgrade the source code. We also want to improve make our own error overlay to have new things like clicking on the error and opening the file directly on that kind of thing. And for the UI part, I'm working on the setting page, more keyboard interactions like a command box and or new stuff. So if you want to get more information about all of this, we have a specific website for Vue CLI. And that's it. So here's my platform with my silver sponsor Vue School. And if you want me to work more on open source projects like Vue CLI UI, you can support me on my platform. And I also made some t-shirt designs. If you really want, and Vue CLI, you can have the install command on your chest. And that's it. Thank you.